Hello and welcome to the 5 Percenters. I'm Nathan Anibaba. I'm joined as ever by the wonderful Daniela Genus. Every week we discuss an inspiring book that we're reading that advances us towards our goal of becoming a 5 Percenter. And this week Daniela and I are discussing The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. So in the way of summary, if you ever wondered why some businesses grow slowly while others have double-digit year-on-year growth, or how billionaires actually spend their time and make sure that they're as productive as possible, or if you want to learn how to hire the best superstars for your business and then learn how to get your best buyers and then convert them into sales quite quickly, then The Ultimate Sales Machine is the book that you need to be reading. So just in the way of a quick introduction, Chet Holmes has been called one of the top 20 change experts in the country. He helps his clients blow away both the competition and their own expectations. And his advice starts with one simple concept: focus. So instead of trying to master 4,000 strategies to improve your business, zero in on a few essential skill areas that make a big difference. Daniela, what were your thoughts of the book?
I loved it. To be honest, when I started reading it initially, it took me a little time to get into it, and you were saying how it's amazing, it's changed your life, and I was like, this is not that life-changing to me. But once I got into it, I found it really impressive.
So why? So it didn't start very well, or?
Not that it didn't start very well. I feel like Selling the Invisible that we did a few weeks ago was so good. Like I felt it was. I mean, that was life-changing from the minute I started reading it. So with this, I know you did it. It's different strokes for different folks, as they say. But yeah, as soon as I started reading that book, it hooked me. Whereas this book, it took me a little while.
Okay.
To get into it. And there was some bits that, I don't know, that just weren't necessarily that relevant to me right now. Okay. And therefore, I kind of skipped through some of the sections. To be honest.
Well, the big thought for me in the whole book, as mentioned in the introduction, is this whole idea of pig-headed determination, right? And you were saying just before we started recording that if you'd read this book before, when you were running your previous business, you would have, you'd probably have a multi-million-pound business right now, because some of the strategies in this are so simple and straightforward, but we just don't think of them, right? So we have this idea of pig-headed determination. To get what you want in business and in life, you need discipline and pig-headed determination to target your best buyers until they buy from you. So he has this strategy where he gets a group of 100 of his best buyers, whatever criteria that is, so industries and revenue and turnover, whatever criteria defines your best buyers. It doesn't have to be 100, it could be 250, whatever, but it has to be a small number. And then what he does is he has a focused and determined campaign to put DM, direct mail, in front of them every 2 weeks until they actually become a customer. So it's just, even if they say no, and they are going to say no, so you're betting on them saying no, I'm not interested. But he says, how valuable could your service offering be if you go away after 1 or 2 rejections? Clearly there's no value in it. So if you just keep on going back to people again and again and again, it's like eventually they feel obligated to give you something, he says. So you were saying that could have applied to Aspire for you, and you think that you obviously your fortunes would have changed. Like, can you talk about that for me?
I think what really what was the word drew me into the book is this. He was having a discussion about hiring the best people. And when I was reading it, I was thinking I didn't do any of those things. And actually, had I done that, potentially I would have done much better in sales. And I've never enjoyed sales. I've always been quite sales averse, which I think is one of the contributing factors why my business that I ran before was a social enterprise. We did way more social than we did corporate. Right. But that was because I just wasn't comfortable with sales. So a lot of the sections in the book that I've read, I'm like, well, actually, had I done that, I can see how that would have led on to this, and I would have got more sales, and I found it really valuable, to be honest.
So what were your 3 sections in the book that you highlighted?
Well, it's more 3 themes as opposed to 3 sections. So this idea of educating your prospects, I found amazing. So it's this concept that instead of trying to directly sell to people, educate them first on why what it is that you're selling is useful. Not even just what you're selling. Find something within that industry. So for example, he uses this idea of people selling carpets, and they will just try and sell the benefits of using this carpet cleaning, when actually if they sold the benefits of having clean carpet first, then once you got to the point of trying to sell the carpet cleaning,
Right.
the job's already done.
Right.
And I loved that idea. And he talks about that even from the perspective of doing presentations. Don't go straight in with the sale. Educate them. And actually, he provides a fantastic example where he got a client to organise, I think there was hairdressers, organise free lunches and free seminars, and calling up their clients and saying, hi, did you know that within this industry, blah, 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 giving some proper facts and figures, so making sure that you research your facts, inviting them to present this report of the information. Once they've heard all of this information, then the service or product then becomes necessary. Like, now I need it.
Yeah.
Because of all of these reasons. And I really thought that was a very interesting concept. And in terms of what I'm doing now with business consultancy, it gave me loads of ideas actually. Because it's true. My thing is, am I selling my service or am I selling peace of mind? So in the social enterprise sector, for example, loads of social enterprises go out of business very quickly. More so, I think, than even just traditional business. So am I selling, I can help you with your business, or am I selling, or do I educate people and say, look, you're running a social enterprise, 7 out of 10 will go bankrupt within the first year because they rely on funding.
Right.
Explain all that. Right. Then you don't want to be one of those people. Why not use me?
Okay.
So that was really valuable to me.
Strong argument.
Yeah. So the second was this strategic, this idea of being strategic. So when he was to chat, he said with one of his clients, he was pitching this kind of education concept. And he said quite a few of the salespeople were like, why am I going to go all around about all of these different things when I'm just trying to make a sale? And it's true. Sometimes you think that all of this is kind of fluff and
you
really...
mean education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even just because he was given a few different examples of techniques, but the people were kind of pushing back and resisting, saying that's wasting time. But actually, you need to be strategic. If it's going to still get you to the same point, or if it's more likely to get you to the same point, if I have to talk about the trees with a client every week for 6 months, but at the end of those 6 months I get the sale, why am I going to resist that? To instead just go straight in the first time we meet with the sale and they're not going to buy from me. So I thought that was also a very powerful point. And then also going back to what you said, this idea of pig-headed determination and persistence, I think that's what's always let me down. I will make a list of all of the kind of prospects that, or my imaginary prospects that potentially I don't have any idea that they really want to buy from me anyway. Go and approach them, they tell me no, and I just accept it. And he says, no, don't accept it. If what you're selling is keep going back over and over again, get to know them.
Yeah.
If it's going to be Christmas, ask them how what are their kids excited about Christmas. Build a relationship. After a point, they'll know who you are, and actually they may not want your service right now, but if you've been contacting them every month for a year,
when the supplier lets them down, when it happens,
you.
they'll come to you.
Yeah.
They'll come to you.
And that's something I worked in events before, and I would contact people and they would say, oh, we don't have any need for an event right now. Call us back in a couple of months. And I would never really call back.
Okay.
And even if I did call back, they've not heard from me.
They've not heard from you in like 3 months.
Yeah.
Whereas if you keep this constant, presence in front of them, they're like, okay, definitely. So he says, we want to take them from, I've never heard of you or this company, to, or I think I've heard that name, to, yeah, I've heard of that company, to, what was the fourth one? To, yeah, I definitely have heard of that company, to, yes, I work with that company.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the process you want to take people through, which makes complete sense. Is that everything that you...
Yeah, they were. I think that was the 3 bits that stuck out
really
to me.
stood out to you.
In conjunction with each other, I think that they all kind of link in.
Yeah. I think, this goes back to one of the criticisms that I have of the book slightly in a way, because, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but it's very American, right? So a lot of the things that he's talking about, I think would work in an American context. I'm sure they would work to a certain extent here as well. I'm definitely sure of that. But he almost has an over-the-top kind of sales approach, and I'm just thinking that culturally they may not necessarily sort of work here in the same way. They, I think it remains to be seen whether or not we'll have to try it, but some of the things are just quite, I don't know, crass and just like a little bit over the top. But anyway, but just going back to what you said, so he says one of the key things for me was that success is not about learning 4,000 different things. It's about learning just a handful of moves 4,000 times, right? So, And again, like, you know, in business, there's so many things to do. Like, there's a million different things to do. And you're like, okay, I have to become good at this, become good at that, become good at this. Actually, like, no. Look, there's 12 things in total. Just get really, really good at doing these 12 things many, many times. And the example that he gives is of doing this karate kick. So when he was a kid, the book actually starts with this, where he was practicing some kind of karate move where he had to kick a ball, and then the ball had to bounce and then come back to him or something like that. And he did it the first few times, and he fell and he hurt himself and he broke a window and he cracked different things. It wasn't working. But the more and more he tried, and this obviously, it makes sense intuitively. We know that practice makes perfect, right? But he said the more that he stuck at it and the more times that he did it, by the time he was kicking the ball, it was bouncing off 3 different walls. He wasn't even looking at the ball at a certain time. So it almost become a part of him. So he says, just keep on updating your skills and working on it. And similarly to the way that he talks about professional development and always improving what you do, he says, if your doctor didn't improve his skills every single year, because there's a legal requirement for medicine, you know, for people in the medical industry to constantly update their skills, right? And if you don't, you get struck off. And if you go to a doctor who passed his exams in like 1985 and he was still doing examinations on you, you'd be like, dude, so have you done anything to update your skills? And so we wouldn't go to that kind of doctor, right? But most of us who are knowledge workers don't update our skills. The information that we had when we left uni is the same information that we have now. We're not improving it. So he says, look, that's what we need to do in order to become, you know, the best of ourselves. The other idea that he talked about was this 1 minute manager. So talking about productivity tips. So he says, and it's useful to get your thoughts on this as well, Daniela. So one of the things that he says is, if an email comes in, because like email is one of the banes, like you can spend so much of your life and your time just going through email and not being productive in a day, right? So he says, do not touch email. If you're going to touch email, if you're going to open your email, make sure that when you open an email, you action it right there and then. Yeah. But so he says, touch it once. So don't open it and then go, okay, I'll come back to that a little bit later. Open it and make sure that you open it. When you've opened it, you've actioned it. And then you can kind of cross it on your list. And obviously, you know, make lists and to-do lists, which we kind of do, but I have like really long to-do lists. I don't know whether you do or not.
Well, it's funny, I shared on the Facebook group a page in the book, I can't remember the page number, where he says we have this tendency to write these really long lists just so we can tick stuff off. Yeah. And that's something that I used to do, actually, write these everlasting lists. And sometimes I would do stuff, like maybe not even to do with what I was doing in business, and write it on, after I've done it, write it on the list and then tick it off.
Say I've done it.
I feel like, oh, look how much things I've done. But actually, what I started to do, which funnily enough he says to do in the book, is divide my days. Yeah. So from the minute that I wake up, and I don't do this every day, but I try to do it every day. From 9 to 9:30, check emails. 9:30 to 10:30, something. Yeah. 10:30 to 10:45, something. Lunch, 12 to 12:30. Whilst it's lunch, read. Right. And doing that, and I've already found that to be really helpful. So it was interesting when I read it in the book. Yeah. Actually, maybe I'm on the right track. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And he says, do the most difficult things first on your to-do list. That too, because I always do the easiest thing. Yeah, because and I've had to start turning it around. Like, okay, what is the one thing that I really don't want to do? I'm going to start with that. Because otherwise, you just keep putting it off throughout the day. And then you get tired towards the end of the day, and you're like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, you know? Yeah. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then this whole idea of people respect what you inspect, yeah? So, from a sales perspective, or just managing people, he says, if you're a manager or an entrepreneur, and there are people that are sort of doing work for you, he says, if you're instilling some kind of process that people have to adhere to, if you don't inspect it regularly, people won't respect it. So they'll just do it as and when, and it won't become like second nature. He has this whole idea of like doing things so many times it just becomes part of you, right? So he says every single time that you want a salesperson to do something or a process, make sure that you inspect that they've done it, because once they know, oh bloody hell, it's gonna come and ask me, I have to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah, because he was saying that they had a meeting and then they have to with one of his clients, and they'd have to actually provide evidence of everything they'd done.
Right.
So they had to do it, because if not, they was in front of the president of
Right.
the company, the board of directors,
Right.
and had to present what
Yes,
they've done.
yes.
So it puts a lot of pressure on making
You
sure
have
that you
to
actually
do
do
it.
it.
Yeah. And then, so, I mean, that's my 3 points, but I was just thinking that if we had a bit more time, we could go into, why not? Okay, hiring. So hiring superstars. He gives this example of how to hire the best people for your company, and specifically relating to sales superstars. So he says, when you're hiring a salesperson and they're in front of you, reject them straight away.
Yes, I loved that. I thought it was a really, really good.
Isn't that amazing?
A good method.
Yeah. So he says, says here's how to spot flaws in salespeople before you even interview them. The first thing you do to anyone who applies for a job in your company is reject them, telling them why you don't think that they can do the job. It's not that you don't want to hire the person, it's that you're looking for the unique personality profile that becomes more effective in the face of adversity. This is the most important lesson I can offer for hiring people. If you reject candidates and they quickly crumble and go away, you see right then and there, before you hire them, what they're made of. A superstar will start to question your reasoning, and they may even tell you that you're wrong. It's a very powerful exercise in determining the strengths of people.
Yeah, but I think this applies in more than just when you're interviewing. It applies in business. So if I'm saying I'm a business consultant and I'm trying to teach people how to get business and to increase their business, how am I going to look if I call someone and they say they're not interested and I just say, okay. I don't ask them why, because
right.
if you can't help yourself, how
Yes.
you can help me? And he makes another point in that same section where in the actual physical interview, or maybe it's on the phone, he's saying to somebody why they're not good enough, and then the man says, "Are you deaf?"
Yeah.
So he says, "I don't think that you're a superstar." Something.
Like, you haven't
and the
proved
guy
it
was
to
like,
me.
"Are
Like, but
are
I've
you
just-
deaf?"
but I've just told
I've
you,
just
like-
told you, and he said he hired that person
Yeah.
straight away. And
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I wouldn't
Yeah.
imagine that I'm in an interview situation and say to somebody, "Are you deaf?"
Yeah.
But actually, it's true. I am the best. What do you mean? I've just explained to you why I'm
I told
the
you
best.
why. Like,
I
if you
am
can't
it.
see it,
Yeah, then that's your
it's
problem.
your problem, and that's the
So
kind
I
of
thought-
person you want to
I
hire.
thought that was funny.
Yeah,
Similar.
makes a lot of sense. Okay, critiques.
It's my same critique always is. It's very repetitive. And sometimes repetition is good, but I feel like with this book, it feels like it was trying to pad it out.
Okay.
Because particularly around this idea of educating your clients, he spoke about that in so many different sections, but pretty much said the same thing. I don't know if that was necessary.
True.
It was just, okay, you need, and even as I said, this idea of being strategic and persistent in both of those two areas, he kept speaking about
kept on,
educating the client, but I got that in the first time he said it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it needed to be so repetitive. I loved the examples. I appreciated the idea that they had the exercises at the end of each section for you to go away and work. But obviously, if you're not hiring people, for example, what's the point of me doing the exercise? Although what he did do is he also made allowances for people that are one-man bands, so I thought that was cool.
Okay.
The way it was written, I thought was pretty good, other than it being a bit, as you said, American and a bit cheesy at times. But overall, the only issue was the repetition.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. My only issue with it is it can be quite cheesy in parts, and it can be quite over the top salesy, and that kind of sales approach, I think, with maybe slightly more conservative buyers in the UK may not work as well. But I think the general thinking behind it of being persistent and always trying to get in front of your prospects with innovative and creative ideas, I love that.
Yeah, I think in relation to the UK, I don't necessarily think sending somebody a gift every 2 weeks would work. I think every 2 weeks would be
You think that's too
annoying,
much?
yeah. I think, and depending on what the gift is, but I think that people in this, unlike in America, where I think, not bribery is, I'm not saying bribery is accepted.
It's not bribery.
It's not, but I think that the British way of thinking would see it as bribery if you was doing it that frequently, irrespective of what it is.
Well, no, because what he says is don't send an expensive gift, because if you send something expensive, it comes off as you're bribing them. He says send something that's cheap but playful, that like will stay around on your desk, they'll play with it, or they'll give it to a child. So whenever they see it, they think of you. So like a Rubik's Cube. So yeah, some example.
You know, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying if it's too close in time, so every 2 weeks, I think.
You think that's too much?
Yeah, I wouldn't like somebody sending me something every 2 weeks.
How often?
I think once a month.
Once a
I
month.
think it's sufficient.
Okay.
I think once every 2 weeks is just a bit much. Like,
Okay.
but I suppose also it depends what kind of value they're trying to get. Because if I was trying to win over Like if I was somebody, a real estate agent trying to get £1 million houses, then maybe that would be a bit different. But I think for the average person that's not dealing with £1 million clients,
True.
I think every 2 weeks is excessive.
Okay, yeah. He also says, I mean, you could probably intersperse it with like, you know, news, PR or content that you have. You don't. It doesn't have to be a gift every 2 weeks. It could be other stuff as well. So, but yeah, I mean, generally, I think we agree with the concept. Okay, great. Ratings.
I would say for this book, 8.
Give it an 8.
Yeah, I think it's a very good book.
Okay.
As I said, I think it's padded out. I don't think it needed to be as long as
Yeah.
it was, and
Yeah.
it's quite repetitive. But quite a lot of the tools and exercises, I found really helpful. And I think it's a book that I will keep coming back to.
Yeah, again and again. What are you actually going to implement in your business now as a result of reading it?
Well, this top Dream 100. So finding your Dream 100 clients and then just being persistent. I'm going to potentially try the gift thing, but not in the same way. I think I'm going to do stuff like cards and different things like that. I think that definitely I'm going to implement straight away. And this education thing, that is going to be the first thing. And I've got loads of ideas now around videos that I want to record, and even just my approach when I'm speaking to potential clients, because it is really, for the sector that I want to go into, it is really about education. And one of the key reasons I think that I'm going to be beneficial is that most of the social enterprise consultants, and even many business consultants, have never run a business or a social enterprise.
Okay.
So they don't necessarily understand the challenges, whereas I know them firsthand.
Okay.
So if I'm trying to educate people, like, I've already got the topics there, I've done it.
Okay. Okay, sure. I thought you would have given it a slightly higher rating than that, actually. 8, I think it's quite low for this. I mean, it's quite life-changing stuff. Do you think?
Yeah, but
Oh, it's your rating.
I also, I had to also include the actual style of the book in the rating. So it's not just the concept. If it was the concept of the book, I'd give it a 10.
Okay. But it's like the way it's put together and okay, I get that.
Yeah, like I think this book probably could have been half of the size.
Probably, yeah. But then you'd be like, okay, I'm not going to read a book like that. What can it teach me?
No, I've read
Really?
small books before.
If the book was half the size, I'd look at it and be like, well, clearly you don't have anything much to say.
Also, I didn't have the physical book though, did I? I did it on
you
the
did it.
Kindle app.
Okay, sure.
Kindle app is fabulous, by the way, if you struggle with carrying books around.
Okay. You get commission from Kindle?
No, I just... Because the idea of this 52 books in a year is that we encourage people to read. Not everybody loves reading, even though you think they should start with 10 pages a day.
I think it should be 30 pages.
But for people that are not